Hello everyone, welcome to PRATHAM Test Prep YouTube channel. I'm Ashish Bhargav. Welcome to another episode of Daily News Analysis that we do from Monday to Friday at sharp 11:30 am. And in this session, we discuss about important news from all major newspaper covered in this session. So basically, we cover the Hindu, Indian Express. As we know that in daily news analysis that we discuss about economy-based news, international-based news, national news, miscellaneous, summits and conference, personal news, science and tech, sports-based news. And apart from that, we discuss about Supreme Court verdict, which is very, very important. And second that we can say, we discuss about state initiative, which is also important for your exam, because sometimes they will ask you about which state taken initiative to this scheme and all. So that is very, very important. And one more thing that you need to keep in mind is in daily news analysis that we discuss each and everything which is very each and everything which is simple and listed language, which is very easy to understand. Now, here is the quote of the day: if your voice is high, only a few people will hear. If your thought is high, then many people will listen. And to inculcate this thought process, what exactly you need to do? You have to read the habit of newspaper. And we can say, here is a quote of the Dalai Lama: just one small positive thought in the morning can change your whole day. And study hard, no matter if it seems impossible, no matter if it takes time, no matter if you have to up all night. Just remember that the feeling of success is the best thing in the entire world. And we have taken initiative of questions of the day. So at the end of the session, that will ask to you 3 to 5 questions. So try to do practice, because as I told you in each and every session, like to having information and solving question, they are two different things. So sometimes you have gathered all the information, but you are unable to solve the MCQs, right? So we need to keep in mind that solving questions have different thing, and having some questions to having information having two different things. So try to inculcate all these things, and you have to develop such kind of temperament, which is very important to solving the MCQs. Now moving further, as we know that here is Pratham Test Prep mentors is newspaper analysis that is taken by me, and Legal Darpan is at Monday, Wednesday and Friday. Current Affairs Samvad is Monday and Friday at sharp 11:30 p.m. Deep dive session at 3 p.m. every Thursday. Maths Mudda is once in a week. Logical reasoning twice a month. And boost your vocabulary session is taken by our 3 eminent person is at 8:30 p.m. Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday. Now moving further, here is the very first news: dark patterns on the internet, how companies are tricking their users. So in this news, we have to think about, like, this news is the category is science and tech, and we can say science and tech, and we can say science. And in this section, we have to understand that what are dark patterns on the internet, and how are users getting affected by it, and how are big tech firms using the downgrade the users experience, and what do internet users lose due to their unethical interface design. Some internet based firms have been tricking users into agreeing to certain conditions for clicking a few links. So that is sometimes of malware, and we can say malware and spyware. So unexpected users would not have accepted to such terms and clicking URL. What does it mean, the word URL? So sometimes they will ask in your exam, what is the full form of abbreviation URL? So what can we say? Uniform Resource Locator. Uniform Resource Locator. That is called URL. So URL, but the deceptive tactics developed by tech firms such acceptance and clicks are flooding inboxes of the users with promotions, emails, and never wanted, making it hard to unsubscribe or request deletion. So they are example of dark patterns. Also know that we can say this is known to be a deceptive patterns. And what are dark patterns? So first we need to understand what exactly is dark patterns is. So such patterns are unethical user interface design that deliberately make your internet experience harder or even exploit you. In turn, they benefit the company or platform enjoying the design. By using dark patterns, digital platforms take away a user's right to full information about the services they are using and their control over their browsing experience. So basically, the dark pattern is something we can say it is away from the user's right to full information about the services they are using and their control over their browsing experience. So how do companies use the dark patterns? Social media's companies and big tech firms such as Apple, Amazon, Skype, Facebook, LinkedIn, Microsoft, and Google use dark to deceptive pattern to downgrade the user experience to their advantage. So as Meta on Instagram pivots to video-based content to compete against TikTok, so users have complained that they are being shown the suggested posts they did not wish to see and they were unable to permanently set preference. So Google on YouTube knocks users to sign up to YouTube Premium with the pop-ups, obscuring final second for the video with the thumbnail of other videos, a way or of disrupting what should have been an otherwise smooth user experience. So, however, we can say that a dark and deceptive pattern do not just stop with laptop and smartphones. So, the FTC report, which also warned, we can say, augmented reality, which is AR, and virtual reality, which means reality, which is VR, platforms and devices grow in the, we can say, usage. And dark patterns, will likely follow users to these new channels as well. So we have to understand the nitty-gritty of these things first, and the second thing, and third, how it is, how internet company is taking advantage of this. So the internet users who are unable to identify and recognize dark patterns in their daily lives can choose most user-friendly platform and will respect their right to choose and privacy, a right to privacy which is enshrined in our Article 21 of the Constitution. Is that clear? Okay. Now, second article is ready to work with India for safety growth of ties is with China. So basically in this article we have to understand that Chinese foreign ministers Wang Yi said on Sunday that China was ready to work with India for the steady and sound growth of bilateral ties, and two countries were committed to upholding stability in the border areas where tensions were prevailed since 2020. So we can say that what was the issue, what was the bone of contention because of border clashes between the two nations, and the both countries committed to upholding stability in border areas and have maintained communication through various channels. So as the minister said that we stand ready to work with India in the different towards study and sound growth of China-India relations. So we can say that we have to understand the background of the story, how it was started, and we can say what was the clash of India-China. So there was many issues that was occurred on that time. So Doklam issues, and we can say initially that was an RCEP. So India was not a part of now RCEP, which is regional comprehension economic partnership. So in 2019, India was out of RCEP because the reason behind government wanted to promote the indigenous industry, and we can say that China is taking advantage of the RCEP also. Now moving further, in riveting political drama in Nepal, Prachand named Prime Minister. So Nepal President, the name of the first president you need to remember is Vidya Devi Bhandari. So Vidya Devi Bhandari is the Nepal president. So leader of which party? He belongs to which political party? Communist Party of Nepal, which is the Communist Party of Nepal. Communist Party of Nepal. And Prime Minister of Himalayan nations. So communication from the President Office of Sitwal Nivas said Mr. Dahal, better known as Prachanda, would be sworn as the Prime Minister at 4 p.m. on Monday. So they will ask you in your exam that who is the new President of Nepal, right? And 7 parties and 3 independent MPs led by former Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli and Communist Party of Nepal came together in dramatic move to poll alliance on Sunday. So only 2 things we need to remember: who is the new president and prime minister, and we can see belongs to which political party. And this will be the 3rd time that the former Maoist rebel leader will be the prime minister of Himalayan nations. He served in 2008 and 9 when he had to step down because of political crisis over sharing of power. And his second stint came in 2016 when he took over from the Mr. Oli against the backdrop of an economic blockade of Nepal during 2015 and 2016 by the Madheshi. So Madheshi is basically a localized people of Nepal. They are fighting for their independent nations. So Madheshi agitators. Moving further to the next one, here is the 3rd article is talking about constitutional silence, unconstitutional inaction. So when the constitution was adopted by the Constituent Assembly, the founders left deliberate gaps in it enabled to a future parliament to modify and amend the constitution that was in accordance with the aspirations and will be the people. The ostensibly gave birth to a constitution with glaring misses. So one of the silence in the constitution is in Article 200. So what is the Article 200? Which does not prescribe a timeline for the governor to provide assent to bill sent by the Legislative Assembly. So we have to understand what is the role of governor in the state and which article and what is the constitutional provision of that. So one of the silence in the constitution is the Article 200, which has been used by some governors to, obfuscate the mandate of democratically elected government. And we can say this has been used to advantage by the governors of various opposition ruled state to mandate democratically elected government. So for the example, we can say the example ranges from Tamil Nadu prohibition online gambling and regulations of online games bill 2020 that was passed in the state, and to the Kerala Lokayukt Amendment Bill 2020 that was passed by the Kerala Assembly. So we can say the situation is no different in Telangana and West Bengal as well. So can the governor just sit on the bills endlessly? So what is the constitutional provision for that? So when the draft of Article 200 was discussed in the Constituent Assembly, so in that time Professor Shiban Lal Saxena rightly highlighted how there is no time limit prescribed for the governor to this act. And we can say Purushottam Nambari versus State of Kerala in 1962, it was mentioned a constitutional bench of Supreme Court clarified that constitution does not impose any time limit which the governor should provide assent to bill. So interestingly, the questions as to whether the governor can sit on the bills indefinitely did not arise before the court, and court too had no occasion to provide an authoritative ruling on it. So however, the court has maintained that the governor must honor the will of legislature and that the president or a governor can act only in the harmony with their council of ministers. When a governor, a central government appointee, withhold accent to a law validity passed by a legislature. So we can say that there is a call for the reforms which is needed. So in the constitutional consultation paper, the institution of governor under the constitution, the Justice BP Jeevan Reddy and BP Jeevan Reddy committee that recommended to the Jeevan Reddy committee stated that if the governor withhold accent to bill indefinitely, such a course will not be conducive with the decorous regard a governor is expected to the rules of constitutional games. And the National Commission to review the working of the constitutional that was set by the AB Vajpayee government, Atal Bihari Vajpayee government in 2000, which is known to be a very good governance, and that's why the birth of that we can say Atal Bihari Vajpayee that we say is a death anniversary of Atal Bihari Vajpayee, that is known to be a good governance day. So the Article 200 requiring the governor to grant assent to bill, it was felt that an independent governor would be necessary to act as a check and balance to avoid the state enacted law being repugnant to the union laws. Some state government expressed an opinion before the Sarkaria Commission. The governor will be act as a safely valve against hasty legislation and their operations enabled to the state government. So we have to understand that in the nitty-gritty of the subject, what is the constitutional provision of governor, what is the work of governor, and the realm of administrative law. Unreasonable delays in granting administrative sanction would be violative of the rule of law. So which is mentioned in the Article 13 of the Constitution. So therefore, it implies that governor will have to grant assent or decline the same within a reasonable time. Reasonable time is what is necessary. So under the circumstances, to do conveniently what the contract of duty requires should be done in the particular cases. So we can say the anti-defection law, which is mentioned in the Schedule 10th of the Constitution. So the Supreme Court held that the Speaker must act on disqualification petitions against the defecting MLAs, which is member of Legislative Assembly, within a reasonable time. So it clarified the same judgment that reasonable time is 3 months in case of disqualification petition. So this is all about the article is talking about. So we have to understand what kind of questions they can frame in the in your exam. Now moving further to the next article. So constitutional provision related to governors. Article 153 says there shall be a governor for each state. One person can be appointed as governor of 2 or more states. As we can see in the southern northeast state, there are more than 2-3 states. A governor can be appointed for the more than 2 states, because one governor can play a role for more than 2 states. So the governor is appointed by the president by warrant under the hand and seal of the holds office under pleasure of president. Article 155 and 156 is clearly states that. And Article 161 states that the governor has the power to grant pardons, reprieves, etc., etc. And the Supreme Court states that the sovereign power of governor to pardon a prisoner is actually exercised in consensus with the state government, not to the governor on his own. So as been that in the precedent power, that we can say discretionary power is something different. So the advice of government binds to head of the state. And Article 163 states that there is a council of ministers headed by chief ministers to aid and advise the governor in the exercise of his functions, except some conditions for the discretion. Forest rights and heritage conservation. So in this article, we have to understand what is the biodiversity framework and indigenous people. So recently, 15th Conference of Parties COP15 to United Nations Convention on Biological Diversity. So in a group representing indigenous people, stressed that a post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework GBF must work on respecting, promoting and supporting the right of indigenous people and local community IPCL. And members of International Indigenous Forum on Biodiversity have also stressed upon the right of indigenous people. So what are the key areas stressed by indigenous people? The right of indigenous people and local communities, who have always been the most effective guardians of biodiversity, also need to recognize and protect it. And the framework should follow a human rights based approach in respecting, protecting and fulfilling the rights, and particularly indigenous and collective rights and gender equity, by actively seeking a way to support and promote indigenous communities and their rights. The implementation of the post 2020 GVF must be include traditional knowledge. This is all about the article is. Because the majority of the forest dwellers claim land measuring not more than 1 acre, it is clear that claims were nowhere close to the ceiling of 4 hectares permitted under the Forest Act, as we can say FRA. Fighting the menace of online gambling. So more can be done to prevent people from falling prey to misleading advertisement. So this is all about the Tamil Nadu governor is talking. Unless there is no outcome has been done, so we will not discuss this in the detailed manner. Now moving further, CPCB reports show fewer polluted rivers stress, but worst one remains unchanged. So what is CPCB? So the data and facts, they will not ask you about the 36 rivers and 80 towns. This is misleading this information is not required for your exam. 406 project, they will never ask you in your exam. That data is not need to remember. So in a newspaper, you have to understand what you need to study and what you need not need to study, which is what is relevant, what is not relevant for your exam. So the Central Pollution Commission Board is a statutory organization, right? That is comes under Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. It was established in 1974 under the Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act and later entrusted with the function and responsibility under the Air Prevention and Control Act 1981. Now moving further, it's time to questions of the day, and that question is very important because until and unless you will not develop such kind of temperament to solving the MCQ, how you will face the exact more than 100 questions in the real exam. Now here the very first question is, to protect monuments, places and objects of artistic or historic interest which are declared to be the national importance, is the provision made in what? First, preamble of the Constitution. Second, directive principle of state policy. Third one is fundamental rights and fundamental duties. See, sometimes the questions is not, we can say you have gathered some information but you are unable to solve the MCQs. The reason behind lack of revision, and we can say you haven't studied earlier. And third one, we can say that the third possibilities that can be, that we can say is you are unable to recall all these facts. So try to solve the questions, because until unless you will not have a practice to solve the questions, that would be very difficult to solve the mock and we can say in the real exam questions, because I told you to develop such kind of temperament to solve the MCQs. So this is called a directive principle of state policy. So Article 49, to protect monuments, places and objects of artistic or historic interest which are declared to be a national importance. Second one, who of the following is India's fifth Prime Minister? Morarji Ranchodi Desai, Chaudhry Charan Singh, Indira Gandhi and Lal Bahadur Shastri. Fifth Prime Minister of India. So the answer would be Chaudhry Charan Singh ji. So Chaudhry Charan Singh served as the fifth Prime Minister of India between 28 July 1979 to 14 January 1980. Historians and people alike frequently refer to him as a champion of Indian peasant. Union Home and Cooperation Minister Shri Amit Shah wished farmers across the country to occasion of Farmers' Day on 23rd December. And why it is celebrated? To commemorate and recognize the farmers as the country's backbone. The date was selected as its coincides with the birth anniversary of India's fifth Prime Minister Chaudhry Charan Singh. It is being celebrated since 2001. Yeah, B option is Anya is absolutely correct one. Third one, Keki Mistri Committee that was recently in news was related to what? Armed Force Special Power Act, GM crops in India, review the share buyback regulation, reforms in criminal justice system. Keki Mistri Committee. Many times we have covered in the daily newspaper analysis. Option C is Keki Mystery headed committee was set up by SEBI to review the share buyback regulation. Going to the third one. Bhasha Samman Award are given by the Sahitya Akademi. Which of the following statement best describe the Bhasha Samman Award? Option A say recognize young writer under the age of 35. It is conferred on person in recognition of their substantial contribution in the field of Persian, Arabic, Pali and Prakrit language. Third, it recognizes scholars who have done valuable work in the field of classical and medieval literature. And D, it recognizes scholars who have done valuable work in the field of tribal languages. So sports and award based question they will ask you possible to ask in an exam, and is a new award, Bhasha Samman Award. Which statement best describe the Bhasha Samman Awards? So the obvious answer would be here. Option C. Bhasha Samman Award will be given to scholars who have done valuable work in the field of classical and medieval literature. And the last one, fifth questions. While burning hydrocarbons fuel, if you see a blue flame, it means that the fuel is what? Burning completely, made of saturated hydrocarbons, made of unsaturated hydrocarbons, or wet. Fuel is wet. Hydrocarbons, that we can say that is a combination of hydrogen plus carbon. Like we can say group of alkane, alkene and alkyne. So as we know that the first group of alkane is methane, ethane, propane, butane, pentane, hexane, heptane, octane, nonane, decane, that kind of things. That comes under hydrocarbons. So obvious that answer would be here. B. Thus, in saturated hydrocarbons, complete combustion of the fuel takes place, but in the unsaturated hydrocarbons, incomplete combustion takes place. So in saturated hydrocarbons gives a blue flame, while unsaturated hydrocarbons burn with a sooty flame. So the questions will gives you the immense idea that how you need to prepare and how you need to solve the questions. What exactly should be the parameters to solve the MCQs, right? So this is all about the session, student, and I hope you enjoyed the session a lot. We'll meet you at 3 p.m. at deep dive session, and today deep dive session is talking about deepfake technology, which is very important for your exam point of view. And we'll meet you at 3 p.m. at deep dive session. Stay tuned. We'll meet you at 3 p.m. If you are new in this channel, please subscribe the channel, and so you will get the notification of all the YouTube session. And if you have anything would like to ask, please let me know in the comment section. How was this class? Please let me know in the comment section as well. Thank you so much for joining with us. Bye bye and take care everyone.